Okay, so in part D, you're dealing with scientific notation. All right, so in number one, you have 82,000. So basically, when you're dealing with scientific notation, you have a bunch of zeros, a bunch of powers, powers of 10, so to speak. And so you'll notice that this is the decimal is understood to be at the end. And when writing something in scientific notation, you only want one digit in front of that decimal point. Okay, so whatever it is, you're going to say some number where you have one non-zero, and this cannot be a zero, non-zero digit times 10 to a power. All right, so that's how you're going to write these. So notice though that this decimal is understood, this decimal point is understood to be the end. So you're going to move it all the way to the left, and then you're going to move it to where you only have one non-zero digit in front of the decimal point. So you're not going to put it in back of the 2 because that will be 2 digits. You're going to put it between the 8 and the 2. That's where you get that one digit. And so now you can say 8.2. Don't put any remaining zeros. If the rest of the digits are zeros, you leave them off. And then times 10. Okay, now notice that whenever you move to the left, you are moving by a multiple of 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you moved 4 places to the left. Now it gets a little bit confusing for students because when they think they move to the left, they want to say negative because of the number line. But you got to remember, this is a number bigger than 1. So that's a number bigger than 1. 82,000 is a big number. So if you said negative, that would make that number between 1 and 0. Okay? It would still be a positive number, but between 1 and 0. So this would have to be a 4. Because 10 to the 4th is 10,000. 10,000 times 8.2 is 82,000. Okay, so when you move to the left, that exponent is positive. So same thing here. So you move the decimal point between the 7 and the 4. And notice that I'm just going to say 7.4. All the rest are zeros. You leave them off. But you got to say times 10. Okay, that 10 to a power is going to take care of all those other zeros. So you went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So positive 9. Now here, notice that this decimal is between 0 and 1. So that's where you can get that negative exponent. So this time you're going to the right, and you go between 1 and 3. Not between 2 and 3. I'm sorry, 1 and 2. Not between 2 and 3 because that's 2 non-zero digits. Between 1 and 2. So you can say 1.23 times 10, and you just count how many places you went. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's negative 7. Okay, so when your number is between 1 and 0, your exponent will be negative. Same thing here. See, that number is less than 1 and bigger than 0. So you can move the decimal point between the 7 and the 4. So 7.4 times 10 to a, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's negative 5th power. Okay, now you're going from scientific notation to standard form. So here you went from standard form to scientific notation. Here you're going from scientific notation to standard form. Okay, so notice that, see this exponent is negative? So that means that when you write it in standard form, that number is going to look like this. It will be a number, a bunch of zeros, and then some non-zero digits. Okay? So to do that, you're going to do this. So watch. I'm going to rewrite this first part. All right. So move the decimal point 8 places. See that exponent is negative 8. So you're going to say 8 places, and the negative indicates you're going to move it to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so I should not have done it here, but your answer is going to be 0. So remember, we're in 8 places to the left, so that 6 took care of one of those places, so you have 7 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 6, 7, 3, 2. Over here, that's a positive 6, so that's a number that's bigger than 1, so you have to move the decimal point to the right. So notice you have 4.1, and then move it to the right 6 units. So that's 1 already, so you need 5 zeros. All right, so this is 4, 1, and then 5 zeros. Here, that exponent is negative, so that's going to be a number that's going to be less than 1 and bigger than 0. So you can move it to the left. So you have 7.1, you move it to the left 3 units. So that's 1 already, so you can go 2 zeros. And there's your decimal point and put a 0 in front of that. So 0.0071. Here, that's a positive 9, so that number's going to be pretty big, so it'll be a number bigger than 1, so you have to go to the right. So it's 8.606. Okay, so here's 1, 2, so that means you need 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I get 806 and then 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so I get that number. Okay, now here you're multiplying and dividing. 13 and 14 deal with division. Okay, so the way to do that is this. You're going to use some ideas you learned in a previous lesson. All right, so you're gonna multiply the whole number part, not the whole number, but you're gonna multiply the real number part first. So you're gonna say 2.3 times 1.3. Now you're to do this as though you don't have access to a calculator. So notice that it says show the steps of this part as presented in the video. So you gotta do what you're told to do. So this is 2.3 times 1.3. And so 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 2 is 6, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 2 is 2. So that's 9, 9, 2, 2,000 places, so it's 2.99. So this right here, so you're saying 2.3 times 1.3 times 10 to negative 4 times 10 to negative 2. So that's what you had. So in the video, that's what you were told to write. You have to write it like this first to get your full credit. 2 points each, 1.5 for the work. Then this part is this. So that is 2.99. Now here, when you multiply like bases, so using the product rule, when you multiply like bases, you add exponents. Negative 4 to negative 2 is a negative 6. And now you're going to write your answer in standard form. So you're going to write your answer as a number instead of scientific notation. So since this number is negative, since the power of 10 is negative, this number is going to be between 0 and 1. So you're going to move it to the left. So that's 1. So that means you need 5 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 2, 9, 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 9, 9. Okay, now here. So the first thing you do is you're going to say 3.1 times 2 times, and then 10 negative 8 times 10 to the 8th. That's the first step you have to do. That's what you were told in the video you needed to write to get full credit. Then you got to figure out what 3.1 times 2 is. That's an easy one compared to this one. You don't need to do any work here like I did here. 3.1 times 2 is 6.2. So that's 6.2, and now you're multiplying like bases. You add exponents. Now negative 8 plus 8 is 0. And notice 10 to the 0, that's just 1. And then 6.2 times 1 is just 6.2. So there's your answer, 6.2. Okay? All right, number 11. Number 11, same thing. You're going to say 6 times 5 times 10 to negative 9 times 10 to the 6. That's what you were told to put in that video. 6 times 2 is 30 times 10. 10 to negative 9 times 10 to the 6. When you multiply bases, you add exponents. Negative 9 plus 6 is a negative 3. All right, now let's think about this. You need to write this in standard form. All right, so remember your exponent's negative, so that means you're going to move the decimal point 3 places to the left. Now this is where the decimal point is understood to be, right here. So you're going to say 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be 0, 3, and that's it. So all the other zeros, see that 0, there's the only 0, you just remove it. So so that was 0.03. Okay? All right, here, you're going to say 7 times 6 times 10 to the 8th times 10 to negative 2. That's the first step. 7 times 6 is 42 times, multiply like bases, add exponents. 8 and negative 2 is a 6. All right, so now I have this. I have 42, decimal points understood to be here. That's a positive 6. I'll go 6 units to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 42, and then 6 zeros. Okay, so that's 42 million. All right. Number 13. Number 13, you're dividing this time. Okay, so the video said you got to do this first. So the real number part, you're going to do that. You're going to say 40 divided by 8 times, and then the powers of 10, you're going to say 10 to negative 5th divided by 10 to negative 2nd. Now, 40 divided by 8 is 5. Now here you're dividing like bases, you subtract the exponents. So that's times 10 to the negative 5, subtract the negative 2. Negative 5 subtract negative 2 is negative 5 plus 2, which is a negative 3. All right, and now you're going to change it to standard form. All right, so that's 5. On this decimal point on to be here. That exponent is negative. So you move the decimal point 3 places to the left. So 1, so that means you need 2 zeros. 1, 2, and the decimal point. So I get 0.005. Right, over here, you have 1.2 divided by 6 times 10 to negative 4 divided by 10 to negative 9. So the first step. All right, now you got to figure out 1.2 divided by 6 is. So 6 divided into 1.2. That's what you're figuring out. Okay, so 6 into 12 is 2. 2 times 6 is 12, remainder 0. So the answer is, this right here is 0.2. 1.2 divided by 6 is 0.2 times, and then that's 10 to negative 4, subtract the negative 9. And remember, negative 4 subtract negative 9 is negative 4 plus a positive 9, which is 5. So this becomes 0.2 times 10 to the 5th. All right, now we got to write it in standard form. So this exponent is positive, so that means I'm going to go 5 units to the right. So here's what I have so far. That's what I have. So I'm going to go 1, and then 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is 2, and then 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 20,000. Okay, so that was worksheet D on scientific notation.